Yo, what's good, family? It's Phillip and
Hey.
Krystin Godfrey back again for another episode of Naptime and Nuptials, where we plant seeds, water them with the word, and then believe God for the miraculous in our marriages.
And where it all goes down when the kids go down.
Really trying to make that stick, I see. But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, kind of all does go down after the kids go down, because it'd be kind of weird if it went down when they were awake. So
It happens.
it does happen. That's another episode. I mean, for a different day. We're not talking about that today. But what we got going for us today, Mom?
So I just wanted to say, how are you doing?
What do you want?
Tell me how you're doing. I just want to know.
I'm good.
That's good. Hey, actually, today it's going down when the kids aren't here. We're actually kid free today.
Oh yeah.
We get to spend that with you guys.
One of the few times that we are actually kid free, so enjoying it while we can by shooting content for you guys.
Spending time with you guys. We're working. I like it.
It's not work when you're having fun. That's what they say.
That's true. Okay, so y'all, today we are going to talk about something that I had to ask myself that really helped me in our marriage. And so today we're going to talk about what's it like being married to me.
Like, what is it like being married to yourself? Like asking yourself what it's like to be married to you.
You're asking yourself,
Oh,
what's it like being married to me?
I don't think I've ever thought about it like that.
Yeah. I actually read a book called What's It Like Being Married to Me about a year ago. And it really put a whole new perspective for me. I'll link the book below so you guys can check it out. But it really kind of gave me a whole new perspective on being a wife and kind of, I don't know, evaluating myself, like self-introspection. Like, what's it like being married to me? Like, that's an important question because I can have a perspective of what it's like, but I want to know what it's like from Philip's eyes being married to me.
You want to know? So, is the question similar to like, would I want to be married to myself? Is that kind of the question?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if I were married to
I can see
myself,
that.
what would it be like? What would
Like,
it be
would I
like?
be happy in a marriage to myself? Not that
Yeah.
happiness is the goal, but
Right. Like, would I be fulfilled and
Yeah.
joyful and
Yeah, all the things.
yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. And it kind of brings up an interesting point because the only thing that we can really control in life, and especially in marriage, is ourselves.
Yeah, and our own responses.
So I can't change you, and you can't necessarily change me. We can make
Absolutely.
suggestions, but at the end of the day, I'm the only person who can change myself. So
Yeah.
that is actually, wow, a lot of accountability in that question there.
Absolutely.
So what do you do with it though? Like after you ask yourself the question?
I think that you have a responsibility to do something. I don't think,
Let's get personal for a minute.
yeah.
What did you do when you asked yourself that question?
To be
No,
honest.
okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
What were your results when you asked yourself the question? Did you decide that, like, I could be married to myself?
I think I'm a pretty good person. I think I could
Being
be
a good
married
person
to-
has nothing to do with the answer to that question.
I'm pretty dope. I think that I could be married to me.
Wow. I mean, way to love yourself, I guess. Hey, if you don't love yourself, who else will?
God
right?
will.
That's actually true. That is. I never thought about that. It's actually true. If you don't love yourself, don't worry because God still will.
But no, like I had to ask myself now, there were lots of areas for improvement. I think that was my biggest takeaway.
I have no rebuttal.
That was my biggest takeaway is, okay, if this is what I believe it's like being married to me, these are the areas where I think that I could change some things to be a better
Yeah.
wife. And again, like you said, I can't make you a better husband. I can't. You're an amazing husband.
I was like, how can
But
I
I
get
can't-
better than I already am?
I can't change
Wow.
you.
No,
I
I'm
can't
just
make you a
kidding.
better husband. I can't make you a worse husband. But I can change me and ask God to change me, because I think we talked about that before. That one area for me, I'm constantly fighting against pride and making sure that I'm being who God called me to be. And like, if there's any areas that I need to change or any areas where I need to call it out and like look at it, like I want him to show me. And that's pretty much what the book kind of showed me. Like I have some areas where I'm not being the best version of me in our marriage.
I don't know if you've answered the question. Like, yes or no? Did you decide that it is you would enjoy being married to yourself?
Oh yeah, I'd wife me up for sure.
Man, what is the bar? Like, what is the scale there that is like, yes, this is acceptable or not?
I would.
I'm just trying to see.
I would wife me up.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so what are some things that maybe you changed coming out of that question, or some things that were altered, or things that maybe you're still working through?
I have a bunch of things that I'm still working
And how long
through.
ago did you read the book? I'm sorry.
It was about a year.
Okay, so
It's been almost
a little time
year.
to implement some things.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been almost a year. And so one question that we asked that she has you ask, there were some tough questions, but I think to start, we're gonna ask each other some questions that
How did I ask you a question and then I am now being asked to answer
I'm
a
just
question
redirecting a little.
before you answered your? It's cool. Let's go.
Okay,
You
so
redirect
I'm
it.
gonna ask you,
Deflect.
what do you feel like it's like being a husband? I don't know what it's like being a husband. What do you feel like it's like? I know that's loaded, and you
I
might not
mean,
be
I
ready.
feel like there are a lot of different aspects to being a husband, but if I was like, if a young lady asked me like, "Hey, what is it like being a husband?" I'm trying to understand my husband. I would just say complicated. Um, Many times, like, I think being a husband, operating as a husband, or it's like walking around in a gray area for most things. Like, you're still learning so much, but you're kind of seen as the person to know how to do most things.
Yeah.
And again, we're probably talking in a fairly traditional sense here, but it is what it is. If you know, I'm not going to say that, but like walking around this gray area, like I'm like God tells me something, and maybe I don't have any other directions or instructions, and I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing, and everybody's like, well, why? Well, I don't know why. You know, like just do what I tell you to do. And you know how your parents used to get mad, like just do what I tell you. It kind of makes sense now. It's like I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. And the same is kind of like with leading your marriage is kind of, you know, you don't always know all the right things to do.
Yeah.
You don't always know what the wrong things are, and you're trying to do that with the person who is evolving each and every day. So you really have to like, and then especially if you aren't real introspective. I'm fairly introspective.
Yeah.
I would probably more than fairly, but I'm fairly introspective. And so if you aren't that, and you aren't like taking the time to really assess where you are, then I can imagine it just be really difficult to like put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand what they are. Because ultimately, if you want to lead somebody, you have to be able to understand where they are being led from. And so I think about that a lot. I think about like how, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling, but to me, I would say it's like being a husband is like a gray area, you know?
That's really good. Okay, so I asked you that, and I'm not going to answer that question myself because it's kind of irrelevant. But I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to ask
How
you
is
that.
it irrelevant?
I wanted to ask you that because that's truly one of the questions that the book kind of asks. Like, well, what do you think it's like being a husband or leader? And then how does that affect how you operate as a wife?
Yeah. And I think another thing about being a husband that I don't know if wives always understand is like, or at least me and you and our dynamic, is like not necessarily the pressure, but like the responsibility aspect that men naturally feel. So like if something happens to Kristen, I feel responsible for it no matter if it was something I could control or not.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, you know, at least for me and you, I don't think we've always understood the fact like, oh, he feels responsibility when I do this, or oh, he feels responsibility when I do that, or you know, like he sees the responsibility aspect of this decision and not like the let's go on vacation aspect of the decision.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's another thing where we can kind of get it mixed up. It might feel like a buzzkill or all these other different things, and we understand that everybody's dynamic is a little different, but the reality of it, I really do think that husbands feel responsible for, you know, and in my opinion should in most cases feel responsible for a lot of the decisions or a lot of the things that go on in their home, whether they can control them or not, you know.
Yeah. So for me, I think
Not saying that wives don't have responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. We get what you're saying. I'm rocking with you.
But you live with me though, so I mean you understand.
Yeah, they might not know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just clarifying for the peoples.
So hearing you say that again, it's like it makes me like I know a lot of our conflict has been a lot of times in the area of communication, And also in the area of like you leading when I don't necessarily agree with the decision or like understand it. I'm like, make me understand, and you
Okay.
can't.
How about this? You talk to God and you tell him to tell me so that I can have some instructions too. We all in the same boat. What you talking about?
All confused.
Make me understand. Well, make me understand. I'm
Right.
with you. But yeah, I feel you.
So again, so one of the questions that I asked myself like in the book, but one of the questions that I asked myself is like, do I make it easy for him to lead?
Oh, that's good.
And I think that if more people ask that
Whoa,
question,
wait, hold on. Wait, let's go back. What's the question for the wives? What's the question again?
do I make it easy for my husband to lead me?
Ooh.
Um,
Now look now,
We'll stay there.
don't ask that question if you ain't ready for the answer.
That's
now.
real.
You know.
So
And husbands, be honest.
yeah, and then also we talk about this, but we've learned it's important to learn how to communicate with your spouse.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like you got to know how to approach your spouse.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like don't be yourself and don't be transparent or whatever, but like you guys are gonna have to lean into like that communicative flow because we can ask each other that and not be.
I think
Like
one thing
hurt or
that
whatever.
we haven't talked about yet is when it comes to the communication aspect. I'm gonna talk to the men for a minute. It's like if Kristen doesn't feel comfortable having a conversation
It's
with
not
me,
safe
it's
space.
because I created an environment to where she's not no longer comfortable, and
we've
that is
been
my
there.
responsibility.
We've been there.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's not the goal, and at least in our marriage, for me, that's not the goal for me to be walking around blind because. What's the point of us being together? We're going to be the same as we were before we got together. You know, that's kind of how I think about it. And so if she can't give me feedback or ask me questions or kind of challenge me on stuff, then there's really no point in us being together. That's how I process it. And so I have to create an environment to where she is like not threatened by bringing, sensitive or difficult topics up to me. And I mean, we work very hard at that. But fellas, I would say that is your responsibility. That's our responsibility. And that there's an aspect of it on Kristen as well. But we all have to be just mindful of the fact that we need to create environments in marriage that we can talk about things.
Yeah, and so when he says that, it just reminded me. I have a scripture that I pray over us every day, and it's Ephesians 5.
You know, you got to be mindful of what folks praying though, because
Yeah, no, but it's Ephesians 5. If I can find it. But it just talks about how like we are to love each other. Paul writes about it, but it was. Galatians. Fun.
that's not Ephesians.
I was like,
is
that ain't
not
it.
Ephesians.
Okay, so it just talks about how like when you submit to your husband as the head, and I know people get submission all torn up in pieces, and we're not going to dive in that today, but godly submission is so that he can love you as Christ loves the church, and then that he might sanctify and cleanse you with the washing of water by the word, that he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having a spot or a wrinkle. And so
What's the reference?
So it's Ephesians 5. That's 22, and then it goes like all the way through the end to 33.
Okay.
But I always think about that because
Ain't that the love chapter? Ephesians 5.
I don't know if it's love. No,
Okay,
it's
go
not.
ahead.
But I always think about that because I think I've mentioned this before, but for a long time when we were first married, I walked in a fence. And when Phillip would like correct me or say like, hey, or challenge me on that, it would really hurt my feelings and I would be walking in the fence. And it's because I didn't realize that Philip's call as my husband is to wash me with the water by the word so that I could be presented without a spot or wrinkle. Does that make sense? So like it kind of transformed how I thought about you and our communication, because I'm like, he's not trying to hurt me. He's trying to make me better. And that's what God has called him to do. Like we are called to do that. So yeah, like it
So we should be using. I just had a visual of like someone giving someone a bath.
Yeah, like how people wash feet at weddings. Like it's not just for show. I mean, for some people it's for show, but it has a meaning.
Yeah,
like that. When Jesus did that,
so
he
we
wasn't
should
just
be
doing it.
cleansing each other with the word and with our words.
Right.
That should align with the word, making each other better.
That's
Man,
bars.
that's dope. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that transformed kind of how approached it, and like, I don't know. I think that I'm a good wife. I do. I
You're a
believe
good
that
wife.
I'm a good wife.
You're a good wife. You be trying.
I think like we have some fundamental things that are different between us. And I think for years I fought them, and there's some stuff that I still fight. But I don't know. Like, I want to be like a wife that helps you and like pushes you to be better. I don't want to just be like around here.
Well, now we have a saying, and it's petty. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you it's petty, because the Lord is still working on my petty. I don't know if it's gonna go away, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's usually after Kristen does something that we have discussed, and she decided to do herself. I asked this question. It's a very, very introspective question. I say, "What happens when you don't listen to your husband?"
He does.
And she usually says, "Bad things." And I was like, "But you haven't started listening to him yet, now have you?"
It's hard. Because I won't be wanting to be right.
It's a lot of responsibility being right all the time, too. Like, that is, people don't think about how hard it is to be correct.
Yes, I would know. It's such a burden to carry.
You do not know that burden. But no, I think it's like, that's really good to think about, washing your spouse with the word, and both people like seeing it that way. I ultimately, like, we had to get to the point where when we talk about things that we accept that we are a team and we are in this together. And so, as long as we take that approach that we found for us, as long as we take that approach and always pull it back to that center, then we can usually make pretty good progress because we're not against each other. And we just you have to keep reminding yourself. And I heard something earlier this week on a podcast where the guy was like, we don't accept, as humans, I guess it's our sinful nature, we don't accept truth easily. Yeah. So you have to keep hearing that same truth. So we have to sometimes keep saying like, hey, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
We're on the same team. Even though we've been married for a number of years, we're on the same team. We have to keep reminding each other.
Yeah.
So do we have another question or a question that you want me to ask you?
I have one. And y'all, like, I think that one question, like, what's it like being married to me, kind of just trickles down. It's like little questions. And I have one because this is something we had to talk about. So I know we're not alone in the struggle. But yeah, like, what's it like to disagree with me?
Oh, man, you throwing haymakers today. Look, we really do want y'all to ask each other these questions, but you got, use
be
wisdom.
Ready. Yeah,
use wisdom.
Be ready for the answer.
And pray. Before you ask the question, sit down together and grab and pray. Say, Lord, help.
Help us to hear each other.
Help.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah. Hear each other's hearts and not necessarily the words, because...
But also, you got to speak. You got to be intentional with your words, too. Yeah. You don't want to just be throwing around.
Because he knows. Like, Phillip cannot talk to me any kind of way because I'm not going to respond.
Who
you know
this.
To?
I'm just playing.
You know this. Like, if he comes at me, like, in a way I can't receive, I'm not saying anything.
And I also think it's this, though. I shouldn't want to talk to you any kind of way.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it shouldn't make me feel good to talk to you any kind of way.
But, it's become cool and, like, to be, cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, trendy or whatever. Cool. People have gotten accustomed to talking to each other any kind of way. And you know what it is? It's the internet. It's those keyboard fingers.
It's all the internet.
Well, it's being able to say, like, social media hiding behind a phone. Yeah. And just being able to say what it is. Though. It trickles over into life because and how we communicate with each other.
Your words are so it's supposed to be used to create. So if you use them for harm, you're creating evil. You're creating harm in that person's life. So why would I, like, use my words against you and then say that I'm trying to have a better marriage when I talk to you crazy? No, I'm sowing seeds. Our words are like seeds. And as we talk, we spew them out and they fall on the ground. And some of them produce and some of them don't. And so if I'm watering you with seeds of just foolishness, that's what we're going to get. And you're going to get that kind of return in your marriage. So I shouldn't want to talk to you kind of crazy. And I don't think you want Jesus talking to you crazy. So why would you be talking like if we are the bride of Christ as the church, you don't want him talking to you crazy. Why would you be talking to your bride crazy? But anyway, that's up, man. We in a tangent. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to your question.
But I asked you, what's it like to this is a personal question.
What's it like to disagree with you? So for us, disagreeing with Kristen is actually, I answered the last question. I'm gonna ask you first. I will answer this. But what is it like to disagree with me?
To be honest, we've talked about this.
Put it out there on the Twitter sphere.
But it's better. But for a while, it was like talking to someone who already had a response for what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel heard. It was like I'm like, all right, well, I don't agree with this. And you're like, but
Yeah.
da da da. And so we talk. As soon as you say but,
Yeah, everything before that
everything
is
that you said before that really is
null and void.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Or you voided what I said when you said the word but.
Yeah.
And Phillip and I, we probably have like kind of opposite communication styles from like most husbands and wives, because like I am the one that will shut down. He is the communicator. He's the one asking the questions and like trying to push through. But when I feel like attacked or like kind of uncomfortable, like my when I feel uncomfortable, my like instinct is to shut down. And so for a while, that was kind of how it went. Like we sat down to have a hard conversation. Phillip got started. Krystin shut down.
And
nothing got accomplished.
Notice what she said. Phillip got started. She never brought hard conversations to the table.
That's true. I feel like I'm better. A little better.
All right. So now, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like, what's it like to disagree with me? And also, no, I'm not done. Also, like, because I get offended, like, it ended up like feeling hurtful, even though you weren't coming from a hurtful place. Which is why I think asking the question, like, what's it like being married to me, is really important, because I'm like, Phillip wasn't being hurtful, but Krystin is now hurt. Mm-hmm. And so everything that I said from that point on flowed from a response of hurt, and we know that that's never good. And so I try to be mindful of how I even receive what he's saying, because, again, we're on the same team. He's trying to help me, but I'm sitting here walking in the fence, and I'm mad.
Yeah.
At somebody who was trying to help. It's like, do we want a world full of yes men? And like, can you have a yes man marriage? Like, probably not successfully. I mean, it probably wouldn't be fruitful, and so
you'd be married.
You'll be married, but for it to be fruitful, maybe,
probably,
maybe, but yeah, okay. Is it gonna build? Is it gonna plant seeds, water them, and expect God to do the miraculous? Probably not.
You liking my tagline?
I do like it.
I know.
Man,
it came to me in a dream, in a vision of the night. But so we saw earlier. But okay, to answer your question, what is it like to disagree with you? I think for our communication style, it can be frustrating. The shutting, well, historically the shutting down and whatnot. But I think we've grown a lot from that. And to this point where we can have some effective conversations without one or both of us shutting down. Krystin didn't say this, but it's something that I try to be conscious about, at least for me, because I like to play. And so sometimes I can be playing and then we end up arguing about something that we was playing about. And like, I don't really understand how we got there. And so in those moments when I have to try to feel the room and be like, okay, this is not the path I thought we were going to be on. Let me just go ahead and pull out and wave the white flag and be like, hey, my bad. I was just playing. I really was. But yeah. So why are you looking? I just admitted to the world that I did that. I don't think I play too much. No, I don't think people would say that about me.
I think the joking, and that's one thing too, like for me, when we're having a serious conversation and you pull out a joke.
You want me to tell you how beautiful you are while we're talking?
It's not a joke. That's real. That's true. That's just truth. I said a joke.
What if my joke is true?
I think that I do really appreciate your comedic relief. But when we're having a serious conversation,
the timing is sometimes
it feels
bad.
like it trivializes what we're doing.
And I know that the time is bad.
It catches me off guard sometimes.
But
I lose my train of thought
within me.
No, it catches me off guard. I lose my train of thought, which already, again, since I struggle to not struggle, but since I tend to shut down, I've lost my train of thought, and now I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
So.
And now we have two frustrated people.
Yeah. Instead of just
when you shut down, I'm like, well, I'm as a communicator, I'm like, well, I would like to talk about it, and you're like, let's talk about it tomorrow, and I'm like, tomorrow's like, forever away.
Yeah,
Like,
for you it's forever away, and for me, I'm like, I just need a minute to get my thoughts together.
That's not a
because
minute.
now,
That's like a 2 hour, 24
because
hours.
now you've like knocked off my train of thought, and now I'm pissed.
Sounds like, I mean, we aren't having one of those discussions right now. I don't think.
No.
But let's be honest, fellas, you never know. Okay, so we only got time for like maybe one more thing. What would you like to, as a parting gift, what would you like to leave the people with?
I have another question that you guys can ask, and again, be prepared for the answer.
Wait, so before we do that, I would say that we do believe that this one question, even just me thinking about it from this discussion that we're having, this one question can change your marriage and change the trajectory of your marriage if you use this intel, this information to really, make it help yourself move forward. So we do think, we're going to try to leave you all with one question every time we meet. And so the question this week is, what is it like being married to me? Take that, ask yourself that maybe first, do a little bit of self-seeking, see how introspective you really are in that moment.
And just talk.
And then open it up.
Yeah, you guys talk about it. And then
what's your question?
You can flip it and say like, all right, well, what do you feel like it's like being married to me? Mm-hmm. That's huge. Like, what does Phillip feel like it's like being married to Krystin?
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask, and I want you to be fully transparent. Like, you don't have to do the whole, not communication style. No. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're a priority to me? Do you feel like our marriage is a priority?
Okay, you
don't have to keep giving.
Here's the thing.
You don't have to do a disclaimer, but you can.
I start with a disclaimer. Most times it's going to be a disclaimer. Not always. I think for our marriage with our family season that we're in with young kids and stuff, it's just not always like, I need to define priority. So for me, if something is a priority to you or something is a priority to me, I am actively working on it without someone else asking me to work on it, someone else giving me intel or feedback. Like, if I want to know something, I am going to go find it out. Don't need you to prod me. Don't need you to do all this. I will stay up till 2, 3 in the morning doing it. I don't need to go to sleep. I'm trying to figure something out. So that is my definition of priority. Since Krystin sleeps very well at night and very often during the day, I'm going to go with maybe.
Maybe.
Not always. Not always.
Okay.
But I also understand, I had to understand this about myself, is that I can have a very absolute definition about things, and I can also have a very high bar of expectation when it comes to some of these kind of things like priority and different things like that. And so my thing is like, if I see her like watching a marriage sermon or series, or she's reading about marriage, like, oh yeah, you're investing, like that's like priority. But she will like consistently go to the store and not bring me anything back. And
that hurts his feelings.
I don't think that's a priority. But she still does it. I like cookies.
Well, so we're not going to go into that, but yes. I'm learning
you see
that.
You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. So one thing that I've had to realize is that prioritizing him doesn't always look like what I think is prioritizing Phillip, because like Phillip likes to eat pretty healthy. Like he says, like, I want to eat healthier. And so
but I also like cookies though.
I take it and I run with it, and I'm not buying cookies or junk. Like that's
don't be so absolutist about things.
Oh yeah. But that's how I feel. Like I'm like, well, that makes him that should show prioritization, but for him, he feels like,
man, that is probably confusing. Wow, I'm a complex individual. I'm a complex creature.
Maybe. So yeah, I guess on the flip side, like,
but what did cookies ever do to you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which is why I don't buy them.
Another thing though about the cookies is that I have to share them with 5 other humans. So, it's a whole kind of risk reward situation. But no, we really appreciate you guys for rocking with us today in this episode. We really hope that that you got some information, some tools that could help your marriage, help you kind of, understand yourself a little better. And hopefully it didn't feel like Krystin was kind of leading the conversation today. So hopefully it didn't feel too one-sided. But, fellas, you can ask yourself all these same questions. So let's not get it twisted, because I'm currently asking myself, what is it like to be married to me as we're talking? And I have some opportunities for improvement. And so, but I would marry myself. Let me be clear. Let me not fool you. I would marry myself because I am the prize. No, I'm not the prize. But no, we appreciate you guys' time and rocking with us all the day ones. Appreciate y'all too. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode. Oh,
make sure you do all the YouTube things. Subscribe, like this video, share it if you liked it. Share it to for somebody else.
Share it if you didn't like it. Leave us a comment. Tell us how much you didn't like it.
Yeah,
it's fine.
And I'm gonna link this book below. It is a book. I feel like it's geared towards wives. We probably could link
like a bunch of books that have helped us.
Yeah, we can do that. We're gonna link some books below. Check them out. But this book, one of my friends actually led like me and a group of wives in a study of it, and we read a chapter or two, and then we talked about it every week, and it was just really, really eye opening.
Do I hear a book club coming?
Maybe we need to do a Naptime and Nuptials book club.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. This has been another episode of Naptime and Nuptials. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.